Hi, Sheila here with Channeling Science and Crystals. Today I would like to speak about the Moldavite, and it is actually more of a serious talk because there are two approaches to working with the Moldavite, this beautiful green rock, green glass actually. So there are two approaches. One approach is fearlessness and ready to change. So the fearless approach basically says, bring it on, whatever has to come will come. And this is a beautiful way to look at things. The second way is paying attention as to when, how, and how much to work with the Moldavite. I'm going to give a couple of examples. For example, Moldavite during the Mercury retrograde, should we or shouldn't we? Some people, the people who go for the first approach is, of course, bring it on. Whatever has to happen will happen. Everything is okay. The second approach would say, wait, you have so much energy with the Mercury retrograde. That's to do with communication, it's to do with also channeling. And you're bringing in a very, very high frequency stone with a ton of energy that you may not be able to integrate so much, and you may not be able to ground yourself so much. So that's the second approach. I'm not going to say which approach is best. I just want to represent them to you in a form of an academic sort of way, so you can choose yourselves, but make this decision a scholarly decision, a decision that you have thought about, that you know what it means to choose either approach, the fearless approach or the cautious approach. Another thing is grounding. Even people who are fearless about Moldavite do talk about grounding ourselves when we work with Moldavite and after we work with Moldavite. So the fearless approach would say, just put the Moldavite on and let it do its job on you. And the cautious approach would say, make sure you are able to ground yourself either when working with the Moldavite, adding a grounding crystal, or adding grounding practices, or after working with the Moldavite. So making sure that you can work with the Moldavite and basically integrate and ground the knowledge that you bring from higher realms, from a higher perspective that the Moldavite offers. So that's another aspect. So we had Mercury retrograde and we had grounding, and now we have the physical state of your body. So the fearless approach would say, it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter where you're at physically, it doesn't matter where you're at mentally, just take this stone. It's going to do miracles for you. It's going to be disruptive, but it's going to be conductive, constructive. So it's a lot like the Uranus energy, if you know a bit of astrology. The disruptive change that you cannot do anything about. Only with the Moldavite you can put it to rest. So the fearless approach, whatever physical state you're in, whatever mental state you're in, bring it on. The cautious approach would say, get well first. Get grounded first, get healed first, get stable first mentally and physically, and only then work in small measures. And this brings me to the fourth. Yeah, we had grounding and we had Mercury retrogrades. That the recommendation of the cautious approach is not to work during a Mercury retrograde, including shade periods. And we had the physical and mental state of the wearer. And now we have dosage. Fearless approach, just take a piece. It doesn't matter if the piece is big or not, but just take a piece, whichever piece you have, and whatever it does, let it do its job. Hold it for as long as you can. This approach is the fearless approach. It's also an approach with energy medicine or alternative medicine. I can do a video about the medicines. I did a thesis proposal on that, on the integration of medicines. So this approach, the fearless approach, means when you have a stone in your hand, on your third eye, here, wherever, let it do its job and trust that all that comes up is coming up to be cleared away. This is the fearless approach. I call it the fearless approach because it's facing everything that comes. And the cautious approach would say, begin small. You're going to feel its energy in your hand immediately. Okay, be cautious. Put it down when you need to. Grow slowly into working with larger stones. Grow slowly into working with more energy. Okay? Now, I've tried the fearless and the cautious approach, and I'm not going to tell you what my conclusions are, because I am a private case. And I don't think that I can decide this for you. This is my approach. I'm a healer of me, I'm not a healer of others. But I do think my job is to present to you both options and see which rings a bell for you. You can also try one, and if it doesn't work or you want to challenge yourself, try the next one. You can start with the cautious one and then go to the fearless one. You can try the fearless one and then say, okay, it's too much for me, let's go to the cautious one. But not understanding that there are two approaches and that you need to understand what you're hearing. Are you hearing the knowledge of a person who uses the fearless approach? And you're going to identify it by what I told you about how do they talk about Mercury retrograde, grounding, dosage, and the mental and physical state. You're going to recognize if they are using the cautious or the fearless approach. And know where you're taking your knowledge from, because if you chose the cautious approach and you hear a person that talks about fearlessness and how you have to hold the stone for as much as you can, and you're interested in the cautious approach, this advice will not apply to you, especially not if you're in the cautious approach. And whichever approach you should be taken is your decision, because it is your study case. Every crystal works differently. Every specimen of Moldavite will work differently. And every person experiences it differently in